Welcome back to the channel. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about selling on eBay. Obviously, there's some hard times for people out there. They're going to be wanting to unload some of maybe their collectibles, maybe just everyday goods. And this video is going to be helpful for listing, selling, and after service sell. Plus, at the very end, I'm going to give you a little bit of advice for selling some stuff that's outside of eBay. But with this information should be helpful selling on any platform for the most part. I'm going to make it eBay specific because it's the biggest retailer. Mercari, if they still survive, you can still use a lot of these ideas and all of this on Mercari also. Not so much on Facebook because, well, just be honest, you're not really selling stuff on Facebook. You're basically giving it away. But let's get in and take a look at this and more. And if you find it helpful, let me know in the comments below. Coming up. First off, you need to take good pictures. Now, I've been collecting for 28 years. I've been buying off eBay since late 90s. And I've got to say that the pictures are very important. Being able to look at your item, and a lot of these people are going to be picky buyers, and they need to scrutinize every square inch of that item. It needs to be taken very well. So I chose this picture because A, it's blurry. It's not a good picture. And B, you can't see everything that's in it, and you can't see, and the listing only shows this. Now, they specifically made it a bad picture because it's a grab bag type deal, but I wanted to get this as an example. You need to take good pictures. So let me get you an example of good pictures. It's kind of easy because G.I. Joe, there's always lots of pictures. And this shows you exactly what you're getting, and this is taken very well. Very clear, crisp. You can zoom in, as eBay has a zoom in option. So if it's clear and bright and you have plenty of lighting and good angles and all of that, then you've represented your item well. And with that, pictures are the very beginning and extremely important part of selling. Now, getting into listing your stuff. So you're going to take your pictures, you're going to put it on eBay, you're going to list your item. What you want to do is you want to point out any flaw, any cosmetic issue, any serious damage or breakage or anything that's wrong with it. And I knew that going to a Filmation Ghost Buggy, I'd find breakage because almost all of them have something broken on them. So it's easy to snag that picture. So you want to point that out. Of course, you're going to put that in your description too. So it's going from pictures to taking good pictures with good angles, also being able to describe it. What is broken, what's good, what's bad, what's wrong, what's right. The better your description and the more you CYA, cover your assets, the better it's going to be when you list this and the person gets their item. Once they buy it, they know exactly what they're going to get. You also want to think about, from the whole process, from beginning to end, you want to think about putting yourself as the end buyer that's going to receive this, from how the pictures look to how the listing goes and how detailed your information is in your details in the comments. So when you go to listing your items, you want to do a little research about price wise. What's it worth? What is it selling for? There's two different things to consider. First of all, what's on the market right now? Are there 25 of what I'm trying to sell? Are there only 6 of what I'm trying to sell? Are there 100? And a lot of times, if you're selling something and there's 100 of them, chances are you're probably not going to sell it unless you just decide to be the absolute lowest price out of everyone. When you go to look and you say, I'm going to look at completed listings, which is a good thing to do. It's not the end all and be all, because if you're in the ultra rare, there may be nothing in completed. But let's just look at the top left where you see a Ray Stantz action figure that nobody bought for $4. So how are you going to sell a Ray Stantz action figure? If nobody will buy it for $4, how are you going to sell yours? Well, this is when you start thinking about bundling it, looking at value, and when it comes to pricing, the value is the biggest play. I think that there's a $20 rule, so you want to sell stuff maybe for $20, so you might want to lump Ray in with a whole bunch of other figures and get a nice $20 lot, or maybe lump them in with a bunch of other figures and it's only worth $10, then all you can really charge is $10. But starting bid at $4 and nobody bought it, you're seeing a lot of that these days, and you have to be real with yourself and real with your pricing, and this is where looking at completeds comes into play. Question is whether or not you're going to do buy it now or starting bid. Or an auction. So you got two options there, the buy it now or the auction. I prefer buy it nows because when I go to buy as a collector, I want to buy it, move on. I don't want to, okay, well, I'll be here a week from now. Maybe I'll get the item. And so a week goes by. Okay, I didn't get the item, so I wasted a week. And I still want that item. So let me work on another one. Oh, a week later, I didn't get that item. Buy it now. Okay, I buy it. And there's a few different ways to look at it. Can you buy it now? Can you make an offer? And a lot of those things should be considered. I do believe buy it now plus make offer. Those are really, really important, real impactful. But I'm going to get into talking a little more about make offer because you can also send offers. The auction, generally I see that things sell for a lower price when they're at auction. Now that's not 100% across the board, but it's up there at about 90. People try to say that when you start an auction at like $1, you better be prepared to sell that thing for $1. I've seen a lot of things sell that are worth $20 or $30 go for $1 lately. And if you started at $1, then you might sell it at $1. But if you started at $1 and it might go up to 20 or 30 or 100, nobody really knows till it's over. And then the other problem with this is at the end of the auction, sometimes they don't pay. Now, eBay's changing that a bit. It's kind of hit and miss with the immediate pay thing, but we could get more into that. I've already discussed that in other videos, but the immediate pay, if you click that on there, then it should pay right away once the auction's over. But I do kind of see it's hit and miss based on the seller, based on the auction, based on the listing, based on how things are set up. So if you want an immediate pay, you have to set that up as an option. I want to get into the make offer. There's a couple of things when you put make offer in there. Number one, it's telling the buyer that you're willing to work with them. I do feel like 15% is the most reasonable number. So whatever you decide your price is, and let's say it is $50, and somebody comes along and offers you 40, I think 40 is reasonable. The 15% would put it closer to 43 or something like that. But I think 40 is reasonable to sell your $50 item, especially in these times. So you got to be reasonable. You have to be flexible. Most people, this thought process is, let's let it ride for a couple weeks. If nobody's interested in buying it, I'll mark the price down. I'll start sending offers. One of your selling tools under the Sell It Faster is to send an offer, and you just click the buttons on all of the stuff. When you go into listings, you click all your buttons, you click Sell It Faster, and then you click Send Offers. You can send offers out to people. I should do more detailed pictures and photos on all of that, but that's a whole more of an advanced course. Sending offers is something that sometimes it works, but then again, sometimes people just largely ignore it. Just let them make an offer. Next thing I want to say is placing reserves on auctions. Now this is an old fuzzy picture of somebody else that does auctions and reserves and stuff like that, but I want to point out that in 2025, there's really no need for a reserve. You should set your price at the lowest amount that you're willing to accept in your auction and go about your business. Or accept you're going to sell it for $1. Maybe you're going to make it up in shipping. But the thing is that a reserve is very frustrating. And what's going to happen is you're going to get stuck in a cyclical loop. Everybody that got involved with your first listing, that they bid on it, it didn't sell because it didn't hit the reserve, none of them are going to bid on your next one. They're completely out. They're done with you. And so you got to get back into looking at yourself in a buyer's mindset. I wasted a week on you and it didn't sell. Why am I ever going to do it again? You're just going to keep this item for the rest of your life. So don't put a reserve on it. Just put your minimum price as a starting bid, or don't sell. Just keep it. Next up, there's something called promoted listings. eBay lets you promote your listings if you want to give them another 2% to 9%. They generally try to suck 9% out of you. I will tell you this. I've watched videos of other people. I haven't really toyed around with it too much. I've only done a few. I haven't noticed that promoted listings sell any better than unpromoted listings. But some people have done tests where they would promote some items at 2%, some items at 9%, and they didn't notice a difference either between those two categories, those two groups of selling. Promoted, though, what it does do is anytime somebody searches, your item pops up on that page every time they roll through the page. So it's always there. Even if you listed it 3 weeks ago and people are looking for the new stuff, then it's always there. And so that does kind of help get eyeballs on it. But if it's overpriced and it's not something people are looking for, then it's still not going to sell. That's all there is to it. And when it finally does sell, you're paying a lot more to eBay. I just avoid promoted listings altogether, but other people love it. They say they have a lot of success. Next up, it's time to pack your packages. And once you've sold it, you pack your packages. So there's a lot of stuff I want to say about packing it. You definitely want to pack it well, and you want to use the bubble wrap, and I'll get into that. And then we get into shipping labels. But before we get into any of this stuff, I want to say that I never use bubble mailers. I think these are the worst thing any eBay seller could ever do. I've had at least a dozen items arrive shattered because I used a bubble mailer. And they're like, I always use bubble mailers, but some of my stuff was even bubble mailers with no bubble in it. I can't even get into that. That's ridiculous. But for the same exact price, you could go get a box. I mean, you're not paying any more to get a box that would fit the same size item that would fit in a bubble. I just can't stand bubble mailers. It's ridiculous. I have seen people that do some shady stuff, and they'll go to the post office and get the fixed price mailers, and they will use those as their bubble wrap. I don't suggest to do that. I'm just saying I've seen people do that, but that's kind of expected that you're going to pack your item, bring it back, and pay the fixed price to mail that item. I see that a lot. It's kind of weird. It's kind of strange, but I avoid bubble mailers at all costs. Good old-fashioned bubble wrap is the way I like it. Now, I will say this. I like to reuse bubble wrap. As I've been collecting for 28 years, I get a box and there's some bubble wrap in it. I put it aside, and then if I sell something, then I have a little stash of bubble wrap to use. I try to reuse it. Same thing with boxes. I try to keep a stash of like a dozen boxes that are various different sizes, so if I sell something, I can use that box. If it's still in good repair, if it's been smashed up and destroyed, I wouldn't be reusing a box that's sustained heavy damage in its first trip. It won't make it through a second trip at all. And with that, you want to use decent materials. If a box is still sturdy and is held up, then you can reuse that. And I definitely don't reuse bubble mailers. I throw all those away. One of my pro tips here is I like to oversize the box a little bit. This is an exaggeration in this photo, but I like to oversize the box because that gives more room for some cushioning around it, that if it does take some damage to the shipping box, the item inside doesn't get damaged. And you've got it thoroughly wrapped in the bubble wrap, and so when you've got the bubble wrap inside your box, things should make it there, no problem. I kind of think like this. Anything I pack up, I'm going to give it to the punter on the football team and let them punt it across the football field, and I'll be able to go open it up, and it'll still be fun. That's the way I look at it. There's always negativity surrounding the post office, FedEx, and UPS, and that they mishandle and mistreat boxes. It's not that any of them intentionally mistreat or mishandle any box. They don't know you. They don't care. What they care about is getting their job done. And when you're moving millions of packages, something might happen. I mean, could happen. And it does happen. It's millions of packages. It's not that they're mad at you or they want to be rough with your stuff. And I don't even think a fragile sticker makes any difference to anyone when you are the 7 millionth box they've messed with this week. Next, I want to get into talking about shipping labels here. And if you were to just pack your box up and fill out the person's name, go to the post office and get them to generate a label, you're paying more, on average 36% more, to take it to the post office or any other place, UPS, FedEx, any of those places, and you just have them create the label for you. eBay negotiates a lower rate, and so does Mercari. So does, if you go through the shipping, I forgot what they call it, but even PayPal, you can get a cheaper shipping rate through PayPal. And all you need to do is have a printer. Now, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to buy a printer. But if you sell a lot of stuff, $150 on a printer, I'd get a laser printer. I'd make sure that the laser printer uses toner. This particular one right here is at Staples. It's $99 for the printer, or $157 printer plus toner. And for mine personally, I use a Samsung. I've been using it for over 12 years, and I buy the generic toner for it. I think they've kind of locked out generic toners for these modern ones, but still, anyway, I would still suggest this because one toner lasts me 2 or 3 years, and they're pretty cheap if you're still able to buy the generic ones. To get that 36% discount, this will pay for itself in a couple of months. Now, as for service after the sale, you're going to have a lot of people, probably 99.5%, that are just decent, good people that are buying something, they're happy with it, they knew what they were buying, they knew what they were getting into, and they get their item, everything's fine. 99.5%. It's that 0.5% or 0.7% that are problematic. Here's the way I look at it. Once they've had their item for a few days, I think that you're pretty much in the clear. Somebody that comes 2 weeks later with a problem, for the most part, they're seriously a bad person. Well, when I get my packages for 28 years, I open it the day it's there, and I contact the seller if there's any issue. And I'm always cool about working out whatever issue it is. And 99% of the time, they've always helped me out. I've only had a couple that didn't help me out, but I really wanted to keep the item anyway, and I wasn't a jerk about it. I didn't do a negative feedback. But when somebody holds it for 2 weeks, they're trying to act like, oh, wait, I just didn't notice this was a problem, and I've seen a lot of weird stuff with that. There's some things you can do. You can fight it if you literally did everything I said, and you put it in your listing, every problem with it, any issue it could have been, you packed it well, and they get exactly as it's described. You could win, but there's still about a 70% chance that eBay will side with them, even if you didn't do anything wrong. But there's one thing you can do is you can open a case against them. Now, it's very technical, it's tough, and if you fight something like this, it's a 2 to 5 month fight sometimes. But I did make a video about buyer scammers. Buyer scammers are out there. They're always there's always somebody looking to scam, no matter where, what platform, how it's going. You just need to know how to protect yourself. And anytime somebody's been unreasonable with me, I just block them. If someone has a legitimate issue, take care of them. Put yourself in that buyer's shoes. Before you respond, think about it. Did I make a mistake? Own your mistakes. And that's that. If you're going to lose money on the deal because you made a mistake, you need to own it. And I got to tell you this. When you lose money on a deal and you've owned it, you're never going to make that mistake again. You're going to be stronger and better. It costs you, at the end of the day, you're out 15 or 50 or $100, but you're not going to make that same mistake again. And so you're going to be stronger. In the long run, it may save you a couple thousand that you've learned this lesson the hard way. Think about it like that. And just the reality is, if the buyer is reasonable, you need to be reasonable with them. If the buyer is unreasonable, well, there are some avenues, but for the most part, most people are reasonable. Offer partial refunds. You can even accept a return on something if you screwed up. And, most of the time, it works out fine. Oh, just quick statistics. Out of the last 200 things I've sold, I've had 3 issues, and 2 were actually unreasonable. 1 was really cool. So, that's not really that big of a deal. And at the end of the day, you got to think the other 197 went off flawlessly. So the next tip is to automatically set for feedback for your buyers. If you're selling to somebody, just do an auto feedback to them. Here's the thing. It's going to be goodwill, a gesture of goodwill, and especially new buyers want to build their feedback. So you want to give them good feedback. The other thing is, you can't give a buyer negative feedback. You will get in trouble trying to use your positive feedback, but telling a negative story in the description. If you try to use feedback as a weapon, eBay could actually suspend you. So why not just give them positive feedback? Great person to deal with. Automatic. Once it's paid, the buyer will automatically get good feedback, positive feedback. And if you want to be a good member of the eBay community, you want to do feedback, and it saves you a lot of time. They'll just throw in something in there that's a positive something, and it will help your buyer. It'll give you some good positive energy going out to your buyers, and that's always good. This picture shows someone that's had some problems, though. My last eBay tip I have is the best eBay tip of all. If you can find somebody locally, meet up with them, and sell your stuff with cash, avoid eBay entirely. That's the best advice that I have. You're not going to have to pay them the 15% fee or add on the 9% promotion fee. and you're not going to see a 1099K. I mean, that's all there is to it. So I think that being able to meet somebody in person, sell them in cash. I mean, obviously, if you're going to meet them safely in a safe environment, I've made videos about that in the past. But I just say if there's a way to sell it in cash, maybe you go to a toy show or a collectible show, or you go to a show or some sort of an event that you can sell. That's a possibility too. Cash is king, and if you can avoid eBay, Mercari, and all of them, then you win. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Mike out.